that. That makes Lindsey Graham correct. You don't want to make him correct about anything.
I don't give a shit about Lindsey Graham.
Alright, well, I was just being facetious anyways. But, yes, a lot has changed since we last spoke on air. So, I'd say, what do you want to start with?
Well, I would like to start with current events going backwards. So the latest news is we agree that they murdered Bernie's chances. They have buried the progressive movement, and they isn't the Republicans. They is the Democrats.
Yes, everyone keeps saying, at least all the progressives saying, they fought harder to stop Bernie than they've ever fought trying to defeat the Republicans.
Right. So they won, and now we have a doddering, stuttering, possibly senile, mush-brained Joe Biden, three-time loser, being rallied around, and knowing that he'll never have two terms, and he probably won't even make it through his first term, and so it's all about who he's going to pick as his running mate.
Right, I think we all, everyone's it's like an open secret now that everybody basically knows whoever his VP is going to be president. I think we've all quietly agreed upon that without having to say it.
Right.
So he'll probably resign after a year or two for health reasons, and then that person is his VP. So that's why it's really important whoever his VP pick actually is.
Right. So, there's the short list, or there's the long list, and there's the short list. And just yesterday and this morning, the news hit that he's considering Tammy Duckworth on the short list. So, what a great choice if he can pull that off, if they let him pull that off, because she is a lieutenant colonel. She was in the military flying helicopters and lost both her legs in service and is tough, had a baby while she's a senator, has a PhD, master's degree and a PhD, and she's not a lawyer. So...
yeah, no more lawyers. No more lawyers. The Heller family unequivocally states no more lawyers as presidents, at least for a while, because they've all been terrible. Well...
and she's probably barely a millionaire.
Right.
Barely.
Right. Well, I'm surprised to hear that. I just want to briefly go over the list of the names, and I want to get your guttural responses just straight off the bat. So the names I've heard are Amy Klobuchar.
No, the one that said, no, we don't want universal health care. We want you all to use your favorite employer's health insurance, which can be taken away overnight, which just happened. Yeah, that Klobuchar?
Yes. How sick is that even during a global pandemic, the Democratic establishment is still refusing to get behind universal health care?
Right.
Sickening. Anyways, so that's that. Then Kamala Harris.
Yeah, the one that let Mnuchin slip by foreclosing on grandmothers.
Yep. And arresting a bunch of people in California for weed, even though she was laughing and bragging about smoking weed in college when she's on the radio doing interviews. and she was
Yeah.
arresting mothers for their truant children going to school. Like, no thanks. And what about about Stacey Abrams?
Yeah.
No,
I
no.
don't have an opinion on her.
She's just, to me at least, she's woefully unqualified to do it. Like she's famous for not winning her governorship. So
Right.
that's it. You want to make that lady vice president and then probably president? No. And then there was, about the governor of Michigan. What's her name? Gretchen Whitmer. They're saying she's on the list.
That's because Trump hates her.
Well, and again, she's only been governor for a couple years, so I still think that's not a smart choice. We just don't know enough about her. And again, whoever is VP is probably going to be president. So you should probably choose somebody who you know can be president.
Right.
And the last major choice is Elizabeth Warren, of course.
And she was nasty and helped topple Bernie.
Right. I think she's bad for two reasons. First of all, yeah, she basically burned her bridges with the progressive movement, so choosing her won't help get progressives to support you because she burned her bridges and, she was third in her own state. So what kind of confidence does that say? And right? Seriously.
Yeah.
Right? And it's Massachusetts, no one expected that to happen. And then also, even after all that, apparently what I've read is that even after all that, the Wall Street donors are still refusing to allow him to choose her. Like even with her faint, like homeopathic residue of progressivism is still too much for them to take the chance.
Yeah.
So they're just not gonna allow her to be VP anyways. So I'd be shocked if they end up picking her at the end of it. And
what could Biden do to appease the progressives? Well, first of all, he could move beyond Obamacare, and secondly, he can release all the student debt and the bankruptcy bomb minefield that he helped create, not allowing students to go bankrupt.
Right, and after the trillions of dollars they've just thrown at corporations and the wealthy, they're still going to use the excuse, but they really can't. How are you going to pay for it? You can't say that. I mean, they will, but it's just so outrageous after all that. And they're telling, which Mitch McConnell's saying, we just gave trillions of dollars to these corporations that don't need it or shouldn't get it, like the cruise line industry. But no, all the cities and states should just go bankrupt.
Right.
So.
And anyway, we're not going to do anything. All we're going to do is pick a couple of crazed, strange, sick-minded Republican judges.
Right. So hold on. Let's go back to the VP thing. Don't get stuck on the Grim Reaper, who we had the unfortunate experience of having to hear his actual voice in the Senate chamber, which was creepy.
Right.
Yeah. Dude, it was like there was so lack of like joy. It was like dead soul talking. He might as well have been a robot.
Nice, the Grim Reaper.
Oh, the Grim Reaper. All right, so those are the VP. Those are, from what I understand, those are the main VP options that they're going. And like I said, the Tammy Duckworth, it would be a smart pick, which is why I think they're not going to do it, because they're going to get. He's going to try to go for like the woke vote. You know what the woke vote is? What the woke vote has become? You've heard that term by now?
Yeah, but I don't really fully understand it.
Okay, so here's let me try to translate the woke vote for you. This is basically this is what the Democratic Party has become. It's kind of similar to the neoliberalism and the centrism, but the woke vote or woke culture is basically caring more about like identity politics and platitudes instead of actual policies that are helpful to people. Like choosing Kamala Harris or Stacey Abrams is like, look, we have a black woman. Isn't that progressive? Even though their policies are horrible. But look, it's a black woman. You like that, right? It's like fake. It's like AstroTurf. It's like, well, we're not gonna give you universal health care, and we're not gonna give you, we're not gonna forgive all the college debt. But look, we have a black woman. Isn't that good enough for you?
That's in my generation. That was called tokenism.
And that's basically what it is. But now it's become woke in the sense that being woke means that you are progressive, open-minded, like non-discriminatory. Like it's like you're being pro LGBTQ, pro civil rights, but it's not actually doing anything. It's just saying that you are. That's the problem with the woke culture.
Okay.
It's like, yes, we support gay rights while we completely gut the social safety net and let everybody die in the streets.
Right.
That's what to me, and at least to me and the other progressives, that's what the modern Democratic Party has become. It's become the party of like affluent, middle class and upper class, like white suburban types, and they call it the managerial class. They've completely thrown the working class in the garbage, and now they just like, well, you have to vote for us because what's the alternative? You're gonna vote for the fascist orangutan?
Oh, so I have a different name for it.
What?
It's called Hillaryism.
Well, sure, yeah, call it that, right? Yeah, she's the first woman president. You want a first woman president, right? If you don't vote for her, you're sexist. That's basically what they tried to pull, and it's like, no, she sucks, and her policies suck.
And what did she do to garner the working class vote?
Nothing.
Right.
Choosing Tim Kaine was like a slap in the face. We knew she'd never choose. She could have chosen Warren back then. That would have been, at least back then, that would have been more acceptable. But again, that's how bad it is. The system, the lobbyists, the corporations are so afraid of being taxed even a little bit, they wouldn't even let that happen. I remember even back then, like, we're not going to fund your campaign if you choose Elizabeth Warren as your VP, and the off chance she actually is progressive in any way. So that's why if this Tammy Duckworth, like I said, all the Democratic Party has basically become the party of, the neoliberal economics and, all woke, fake woke stuff and no actual economic policies that help people. But if they're going to choose a centrist Democrat, that's basically the smartest thing to do, which is why I think they won't do it, because he's going to have his like woke millennial staff saying, oh no, you got to choose somebody else who's more popular or whatever, even though, like I said, there's really nothing bad to say about her. Like I said, we going to have them insult her for being a decorated, wounded war veteran?
Yes. They will.
I mean, they will, but like I said, I think that's the smartest pick you could make at this point. But that's why I think they're not going to do it.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think you're right. That would give them too much spine.
Right. They're not brave enough to do that.
They're not into combat. They're into wokeness.
And that's the thing. That, and even choosing her would be smart woke, but they're too afraid to even do that. I think they will
Oh,
choose.
by the way, Lee J, it's almost impossible to find any reference of her and her religion, but I finally found one that listed her as a deist.
Oh, who? Tammy Duckworth?
Yeah.
Oh, they're not going to pick her. They're not gonna.
Right.
They're not gonna let that, because that's like a hair's inch from being an atheist,
Right.
and they're just not gonna even bother with that. They're gonna.
Even though that's what the founding fathers were.
Doesn't matter. No one knows that. Everyone's a moron. Yes, that's basically as close as to, like, they won't, like I said, even if they'd rather have someone who pretends to be a Christian than say someone's like. Can you imagine? Just try explaining that to a normal. It's going to come up. Just imagine having a debate, or even like just imagine putting her on a Fox News town hall and try to explain deism to people.
Right.
What the hell?
So that's what they'll do. You know that's what they'll do.
Right. So I'm
You'll
dead.
have
Yeah.
the Yuri Baldwells calling her, a demon.
Right. Oh, she's a godless atheist.
Right.
Even though she's the religion of majority of the founding fathers. So yeah. So now. Well, now that I know that, they're definitely not going to pick her, and now they're just like, again, now they're just pretending. It's like, huh? We might choose an Asian woman. You guys like that, right? They're gonna hear what the focus groups say, but as soon as someone figures that out, if she's actually like openly deist, now it's basically like 0.1% chance they're gonna pick her, unfortunately,
Right.
because that would be the least.
She doesn't promote it. It doesn't list her in It doesn't list it in Wikipedia. You can see that there was a definite effort to hide her religious beliefs.
Right. So there's as far as I'm concerned now, there's basically no point in even talking about her, because I would be shocked if they allow her to be VP if she's a deist of all things.
Right. Yeah, she is.
So yeah, there's no chance. They'd rather have more fake Christians.
And she's a Thai woman. How weird is that?
Yeah, like I said, there's too many complications to explain to the majority of Americans. Like, wait, she's Thai, but she has like a white person's name, and she's a deist. What the hell is that? Like, you got too many levels of explanation to deal with.
Right.
So
And she got her master's degree, and they lived in Hawaii before they came to the mainland. And if you read her history, it's an enduring, nice history. But like you said, what's that going to do for the beer swizzling gun toters?
which is why I think they're gonna go with Amy Klobuchar.
Oh God.
Because she's basically female Joe Biden.
Right.
Uninspiring, status quo, milquetoast, keep the system chugging along. That's all she is. And then they'll make Kamala Harris like Attorney General. Or I've also heard some people are saying he's not going to choose a black woman VP because he says he's already promised to put a black woman on the Supreme Court. So he'll probably give that to Kamala Harris or something.
Oh, I hope RBG can survive until January.
They need to keep her in bubble wrap.
Really?
And
Really?
they need her juiced. They need her juiced on stem cells, because they'll be completely hypocritical and fill the seat. Mitch McConnell's already gone on record saying he'll do it, so it wouldn't surprise anyone.
Yeah. Oh, but what about an election year?
Doesn't matter. They'll come up with some bullshit. Well, like I said, first of all, he's already said he'll do it, so they don't even need an excuse. But if they do come up with an excuse, here's my impression of the Grim Reaper turtle. Well, well, we wouldn't let Obama choose a replacement because that was his end of his second term. This is just Trump's first term. There. There. That's all you need to say.
Right.
The end. Whatever. Fuck. They'll find the most.
DJ, good impersonation, and we shouldn't curse so that kids can listen to our podcast.
No kids are listening to this. They shouldn't listen to this. Go read.
And we should have,
Go read.
you should have a disclaimer. You should put a disclaimer on the announcement.
Don't worry. I took care of it. It's fine. It's explicit. Okay. No one's gonna accidentally listen to this and be like, "Oh my, oh, hey, you know what? You know what? Look who our president is." Okay. They voted for him, even though he said he likes to grab them by the pussy. Okay. So we're way beyond any sort of decorum. Right?
Such a bad man.
Yes, he is. And that's an understatement. I will say, I feel a lot more sane not having to see him or hear him on a daily basis now that I'm in Taiwan. Except, apparently, a lot of Taiwanese people like him because he's apparently an asshole to Xi in China. But I don't really think he actually is. But there is some... what is it? Did Pompeo say they want Taiwan to be recognized or something?
Did he?
Something. I gotta find that out. Like, so, you know, I'll give credit where credit's due. Like, obviously, I think it's so, to me, it's so fitting. You know, that Taiwan is one of the best countries in the world right now. At least when it comes to the COVID, like they managed to lock it down. Like everyone's still living their lives. They're giving out face masks to all these other countries. And it's just so fitting that basically one of the best countries right now, and most of the world doesn't even acknowledge that it is a country.
Right. That's unbelievable.
Decades ago, everyone just decided to sell out to the commie Chinese.
Right.
And I always bring that up, even after this whole virus thing, and. No one has ever given me a real answer. I always bring this up. Is that how come China is okay to do billions and billions and billions of dollars of trade with, but Cuba sucks?
No answer.
There is no logical real answer other than we just want billions of dollars worth of Chinese crap, and it's easy to shit on Cuba because all they have is cigars and sugarcane. You know, it's easy to shit on them when they're not like the biggest. China's like the biggest country in the world population wise, second biggest economy, if not the first biggest economy. So yeah, it's easy to pretend to have values and to be against communism when a little country has nothing, but you ignore all that when you have billions of dollars of cheap Chinese crap you want to buy. Or sell.
Cuba's just a glorified Puerto Rico that's useless also.
Something like that. Even though they apparently have really good doctors.
Yeah.
But whatever. You know, just more blatant hypocrisy. Taiwan definitely should be recognized by more countries. Especially, if I was Taiwan, I wouldn't give my masks to anybody unless they actually acknowledged I was real. But that's just me. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a lame thing because they have an embassy. The U.S. has an embassy here, but it's not, or it's a consulate, but it's not called that because they can't. So it technically still has like official State Department presence here, but they can't call it an embassy or consulate because China might get butthurt about it.
So what is the stance on China and the Republican?
You mean the Republic of China?
Yeah.
Well, most of the world doesn't acknowledge that it's a sovereign country, and they default to the People's Republic of China as the true China.
So
Basically, yes. I think there's some grumbling about giving Taiwan more acknowledgement, but no one is really willing to go all in and support Taiwan 100% because everybody wants billions of dollars worth of Chinese money. It's my understanding, at least.
Right. Well, you have the Trump and the Trumpsters fucking around with China and their incompetence. You know, China could just sell all its bonds.
Well, that's the economic doomsday weapon. I see. If they want to completely destroy the global economy, they can just be like, hey, we want our money back. And then the whole global economy falls apart. Basically.
Yeah. All right, so back to the VP. So so you think it's going to be Klobuchar?
That is the safest, most bland, boring, and safe choice. So that's why.
There's no other?
I mean, or it would be or Kamala Harris, but I don't think so because I think they want to save her for either Attorney General or to put her on the Supreme Court. Like I said, Dad, think of it. If you're the DNC Democratic establishment, and like I said, we both know that whoever the VP is going to be president, and you just want Biden as like a vacant vessel of neoliberalism and corporatism, who best represents that?
Well, who would you want to be vice president?
Who would I want to be vice president?
Yeah.
Like, who would I actually want to be vice president?
Yeah.
If they actually wanted to win, they would make Bernie his vice president, but we know that's never going to happen. That's.
So you want an 80-year-old vice president of an 80-year-old president?
All these people are old anyways. Who cares? You might as well give us something to be excited about. Like.
Well, I think they have no desire, commitment, or hope to do anything progressive.
Well, that's the whole point. That's what I'm saying. Like I said, this whole thing is nonsense. Like, clearly, no matter what happened, like, remember they canceled the New York presidential primary. Andrew Yang sued to get it reinstated, and now they're appealing it to federal court. Like, they won't even let us have like token voice support for progressivism because they don't want to be embarrassed if Bernie actually won the New York primary. Like, they're willing to give us nothing by scamming Bernie and having all those sham primaries during the pandemic where was it Wisconsin or was it Milwaukee had like 4% voter. Yeah, my brain just crapped out on me.
Wisconsin?
Yeah, Milwaukee had like 4% voter turnout. 4%. Yeah. And they closed like all the... So it's like there was barely... The whole process was a scam as far as I'm concerned. You know? Like.
Oh, speaking of scams, so the House is trying to come up with a bill that the Senate will support. Yeah, good luck. To make some billions of dollars available for all states to have cover the cost of voting by mail.
Right.
Okay. So while they're doing that, Trump puts in a political hack in charge of the post office.
Right. We've talked about this before. We knew that was going to happen eventually.
Well, it just happened.
Right, because, oops, sorry, we lost all the ballots. Oops.
And there was a correspondent, she just did a piece this morning just reviewing just reviewing what each of the cabinet members has been doing during this crisis. And basically, they have done nothing. They haven't had a cabinet meeting since November.
Yeah.
And where are they? What is the Secretary of Labor doing? Nothing. What is the Secretary of Education doing? Nothing. The Secretary of Commerce in the Depression is doing nothing. They're all at home, giggling and making money.
But honestly, at this point, they're all so bad, them doing nothing is good. Because all they do is bad.
Right.
Like, if Betsy DeVos wants to stay home or live on one of her 12 yachts and not make everyone's life worse, I'm all for it. But I get your point. Like, they're still saying drain the swamp when they voted for the swampiest guy ever. It's like just this whole Trump era is a perfect like example of just like the ridiculousness and contradiction of America. Like, remember, like there's just so much to say. Remember those senators that got caught basically doing insider trading?
Yeah.
Which I'm not even sure. They don't even know if it's may or may not be illegal, actually, but I think it is.
Yeah.
So, is anything going to happen to them? No. Are they going to keep doing it? Yes. Are they? Is that lady going to get reelected? Probably. I'll be shocked if she doesn't. Yeah, she's officially the richest person in Congress, and she's the wife of the CEO of the New York Stock Exchange. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Like, they're not, like, you might as well put Dracula and the Wolfman.
These are the people that have voted for these scammers. They've all been elected and re-elected. And how many senators and representatives have faced criminal charges and been indicted, and yet their voters re-elect them? What the fuck? What do you know? There's nothing that can be done about that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I've actually been watching a lot of old George Carlin recently, and he basically...
Me too.
Really?
Me too.
Somehow he must be popping up because his voice is so prescient now. And it's just... He basically said the people are doing it to themselves. They keep allowing they allow these people to be in charge. So they get what they deserve.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, we all get.
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, this whole primary process, like, first of all, like I said, in 2016, we know, and the Democratic Party admitted that the 2016 primary was a sham. Right? Do we all agree on that?
Yeah.
They even said in court that they're a private corporation and they don't have to, they can basically choose whatever they want. They don't have to submit to the will of the voters. That's in court. They said that. And clearly, this time, like, how the hell can they justify how can they call a legitimate primary if only 4% of your voters come out during it, when you have the CDC saying you can't go outside because you're going to die, but you refuse to postpone a primary or allow them to do mail-in ballots? Like, I think this, like, my generation, man, we're just like, we're done. We're either gonna, vote green and tell you to go fuck yourself, or tell you to go fuck yourself and do nothing. Like, there's no, basically this election, there's no hope for us.
Right.
We either get Trump again, or we get a vapid corporate, a corporate vessel who will just lead to a worse Trump later down the road. Because as they keep saying, let's go back to normal, is bullshit, because going back to normal is what allowed Trump to win in the first place.
Right.
And so what? So then we get President Klobuchar, Yay. That's it. No thanks. Who else? What else? Like, what is there to do?
What else? What else is? Think of how much better off we would be if Cuomo was president.
Well, you're the only one who seems to be saying that. He's getting a lot of shit from the progressives, actually. Apparently he tried or did actually cut Medicaid in New York during the pandemic. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah.
But I still, yes, like if we're, like I said, if we're playing this game, like who's the least shitty, like neoliberal centrist, I'd rather have him than anybody else.
So could he be a vice president?
Well, he won't, because they've basically said that it's going to be a woman vice president. Now, what do you think of the idea that they might try to replace Biden because he's too broken?
Who would they replace him with?
That's the thing. You think, like I said, because in the end they can do whatever they want. Doesn't even have to be anybody who ran in the primaries, and they've done it before. Did that with Hubert Humphrey. So if they could just, that's why there's people have been talking about just scamming Cuomo in.
Right.
And at this point, like I said, that's like certainly the least shitty they could do as far as everybody else that's been talked about.
And are you sure that it has to be a woman?
Well, no, I'm just saying that's what Biden has basically said, that it's going to be a woman. Again, they could do whatever they want as far as VP goes, but they could. Here's if they want to be really evil geniuses, this is what they do. Biden's brain doesn't work anymore, so they make him drop out. They replace him with Cuomo, and then they choose some other woman VP for him.
Right.
So I see that as unlikely, but possible.
That'd be a great dream team.
Right. But do you really think they'll do that?
He's a master politician.
At least he gets shit done, man. That's all I have to say.
That's right. And he's a master. And I think he could become the new presidential candidate, and I could see him picking Tammy Duckworth.
Right. Well, people have a lot of.
Except he's Catholic and she's a deist.
So Catholic doesn't mean anything to anyone anymore. Really?
Oh, you mean all the child molesting priests?
Well, Biden's Catholic. No one's making us think about that. This isn't the 1960s. Worried about Kennedy being Catholic. But progressives have a lot of criticism on Cuomo, but I give him a lot of credit for at least having balls, getting shit done, and he managed to get New York State tuition-free college, which I give him a lot of credit and a lot of leeway for that. So at least that's something, for God's sake, something to give people hope. Like, hell, we have our I guess he's our mutual cousin, like Steven, right? He's going to college in UAlbany studying national security, which is a program specifically put in by Cuomo. So now, in theory, our relative will get a cheap, or at least cheaper, because they'll probably still have to pay for housing, but at least, it's giving opportunity to people without having to be completely enslaved with debt, which is a whole other conversation, which... I made the choice not to go into debt for college, thank God, for better or for worse. But knowing how other countries don't do that to their people is very frustrating, and I only wish that Americans knew how much they're getting screwed on a daily basis. Like that.
Obviously they don't care.
Do they? Or do they just not know? Like I said, I think a lot of it is just people have just been propagandized and brainwashed for 40 years with the socialism, 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 liberals, liberals, tax you, tax you, tax you, without thinking, oh, well, they're giving trillions of dollars to the corporations, but goddamn those people on welfare. That's always the same bullshit argument you hear. You know, let trillions of dollars go to the corporations and tax breaks to wealthy people, but God forbid somebody might scam welfare once in a while, which is a fraction of the monies we just give away to corporations that give us nothing in return.
Right.
And it's the same shit over and over and over again.
And yet, so many people will vote Republican.
So, and that's the thing. That's the problem. Is it comes down to the woke vote. Also, it actually applies to Republicans as well, but they don't call it woke vote. They just call it cultural issues, right? It's the same thing like with it's the abortion and the guns and all that stuff that keeps people voting Republican. Because they keep focusing on those issues because that creates the fake difference between the two parties. They could say like, oh, yes, gay rights and abortion and guns and blah blah blah. Like, and yeah, those are important, but not as necessarily as important as actually economic policies that might actually help people. Like, again, the gun thing. Clearly nobody's getting rid of the Second Amendment anytime soon. So it's not even worth talking about. Like, that's just not going to happen. But if you keep people afraid of them doing it, then you can just keep not doing anything about it and not doing any policies that actually help them. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
Or the abortion thing. You know, the abortion thing is an unsolvable, is that even a word? Question. And you can keep getting people riled up about it and then do nothing about it and then keep passing tax cuts. They've been doing this for decades now. It's the same shit over and over again.
Right. It's the Reaganomics.
Which, again, we're literally doing the exact opposite of what we know works. Oh, and by the way, a new friend of mine I met who lives in Taiwan, he married a Taiwanese woman. He lives in Taiwan now, obviously, has a kid here. And he's not planning on going back. But he's from Kansas. And I don't know if...
Oh,
Right.
Is that the one living with all the sisters?
Yeah. And I don't know if you know, but you know Kansas was basically when they did a laboratory experiment where they've basically completely fully implemented trickle-down economics, and it basically destroyed the state. They have nothing. Like, the people have nothing there. And then after the governor destroyed the state, I think Trump appointed him like religious ambassador at large or something. Some cushy bullshit, like lame, useless position.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and a complete failure. And we literally been doing the exact wrong thing this whole time.
But we continue to do the wrong thing.
I know, and that's and you know, and then when you tell us we have to choose between Biden and Trump, it's like, okay, so my car crashes now or my car crashes a month from now, in a metaphorical sense. Either way, the car's going to crash.
Yeah.
So what's better? Do you crash the car now and get over with? Or just delay the inevitable? Because that's basically what we're going to get. Like I said, if we don't really change things in America, you're just going to get a worse Trump, a more thoughtful, competent, charismatic fascist. And that's the scary thing to worry about. Because the thing is, if it comes down to it, the Democratic Party would rather have Trump than Bernie, because most of it, not going to say all, because obviously he's done some bad things, but most of his policies, you know, the tax cuts, wars, bombing all these countries. They don't really have issues with his policies too much. They just, like I said, I just keep saying, they just wish he wasn't such a meanie head.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if he just wasn't a raging prick asshole, it'd kind of be like a Mitt Romney, George W. Bush situation. It'd be like, oh, he's bad, Republican, tax cuts, yay. But he's just such a racist. Like, that's all they have. That's why they just have nothing to say other than he's a bad man. It's like, yeah, we get it. And so what? So your policies are going to be slightly less bad? Like, you're going to give us the woke politics? You're going to say we're going to do these for the trans people and the gay people, but you're not actually going to do anything? You're just going to say that you're doing something. And do nothing. Like I said, what's that famous book, What's the Matter with Kansas? That guy wrote about it decades. I read that in college. It's the same shit over and over again. Say you're gonna do all these cultural issues. Basically do nothing. And while you're doing nothing for the cultural issues that get people to vote for you, you pass tax cuts for the corporations and the wealthy. Like, there's really nobody left. Like, they beat Bernie, and he unfortunately just wasn't bull moose enough to tell the Democratic Party to go fuck themselves. And, even the other progressives, I feel like they've tamed. Like, it seems like AOC and the squad have, like, backed off a little bit. They're just, it's like it's all fake. Everyone's fake.
Yeah.
And even then, even though they managed to get her to, like, get behind Pelosi, they're still trying to primary her. You know about that?
Oh, yeah, of course.
And that lady, they got a frickin' like lady from CNBC who said that Reagan's her favorite president.
Yeah, so there you go.
Right. Really? And there's a good chance. I mean, you know how much money they're going to throw at that?
Oh, unbelievable! They will get AOC and the other Habibs out, no matter what.
And that's why I feel so jaded, because I honestly feel like when AOC won, the only reason that she won is because they didn't bother to scam it.
Right.
They're like, oh, some uppity little girls running against Crowley. Nothing to worry about. Whatever. They didn't think it was going to be an issue. And now they're like, holy shit. So now, even though they've basically managed to tame her and get her to fall in line, basically, more or less, like, she's still, like I said, she talks the talk, but she's not walking the walk anymore. But they're still going to replace her, just like the Bernie thing. They tamed Bernie, and they're still shitting on him.
Right.
They won't even let us do our symbolic vote. They give us nothing. They give the progressives nothing. Then expect us to vote.
Right now, there is a court decree that there will be a primary in New York.
Well, here's the thing. People have been getting this wrong. It's very confusing. So they were just going to cancel the presidential primary, because there's still going to be people were thinking they were canceling the primary completely. That's not true, because they're still having other elections. Like, there's congressional primaries.
I know that.
But a lot of people don't.
know.
A lot of people didn't know that. It's confusing. All about nuance. I feel like if we had a different name, this would be. I always try to say nuance. Like, this should be the nuance pie. I'm always about trying to be nuanced about everything, because not everything's black and white or simple. But yeah, so basically, they were just going to remove the presidential selection for the primary from the ballot.
Right, and like somebody I read somewhere, who asked for that?
Nobody.
Right.
And there were
This is like when Republicans sold our rights to the internet service providers. Nobody asked for it.
Right, and they were saying, well, it's because of the COVID, and we don't want people. But then you're still having a primary, so you make no sense.
Right. You're complicating what could be very simple.
And well, here's the thing: it wasn't even Bernie or his team that did it. It was actually Andrew Yang that sued to get them to reinstate the primary, and a federal court did. But now the state has appealed to the federal courts. So why?
Right.
Why?
Because because of Joe Crowley.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, they're not even letting us, like, they don't, you know how embarrassing it would be if Bernie actually won the New York primary even though he dropped out?
Right.
That's what they don't want. They won't even let us have some, like I said, they give progressives nothing, expect us to vote for them, and then get pissed off when we don't, and then it's our fault for them being shitty.
Yeah.
They learn nothing. They learn nothing from last time. The only thing they have going for them is that people don't, like, what's the word? Viciously hate Joe Biden like they did Hillary. You know,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, he's Biden. It's like, he's Joe Biden. Like, some people, even some Republicans might be like, he's Joe Biden, whatever, yeah.
Right.
Right,
Uncle Joe.
he's Uncle Joe. Okay, I might not like his policies, I might not like him as a Democrat, but there's not that, like physical, visceral hatred. Like I said, Hillary had 30% of the country that would never vote for her no matter what, right from the get-go. And everything else was a disaster from that. Go on. Historians will be writing crappy books about why she lost for 100 years.
But now the woman that's accused Biden of sexual harassment says she is calling for him to step down.
Well, here's the thing. I hate to say this, and I honestly hope no one ever hears this, but quite frankly, I don't care because clearly the American people really don't care. Like, again, this is just, to me, this is the same thing. This is just like a distraction astroturf. It was the same thing with Kavanaugh, and it's the same, like, how many people accused Trump of sexual assault or rape? Was it like over 20? It's over
26?
over 20. Clearly, enough of the country didn't care. They don't care. And clearly, the Democrats don't care either. So it seems like, unfortunately, it seems like it has to be a requirement, not a disqualifier. And quite honestly, to me, like, again, it doesn't even matter if it's true or not. Like, of course it should matter. Like, I'd prefer not to have anybody who's a rapist or even accused of rape or anything like that. But clearly, the majority of the American people don't see that as a disqualifier. So, whatever. You know what I mean? And it's only one.
Yeah.
It's only one person, and I'm not saying it's good either. I'm just saying, like, it's just like we're so beyond that. And it's not a good thing. I want to try to say this as clearly as I can. I think it's terrible that we've gotten to a point where people being rapists or accused of rape doesn't matter anymore. I wish we weren't there, because again, but that was the same trap they fell in with Kavanaugh. They were trying to, claim he was a rapist when clearly half the country doesn't care. You can't prove it, so you're just setting yourself up for failure. Instead of, trying to prove something that's improvable, you should focus on why he's a shitty justice. Again, focus on why they're shitty, and again, that's the whole point. Democrats keep saying Trump's a bad man. Yeah, we get it. He's a piece of shit. So what's your alternative? A guy who's less a piece of shit? That's it? What's your policy? What's your policy?
That's it.
Well,
That's it.
that's not good enough for me and most of the progressive movement. So I see it as to me, honestly, it's a non-issue. I feel like people are wasting their time and energy on all this because clearly it doesn't matter anymore.
So here's another election. It's not going to be Angela Davis. It's not going to be Ralph Nader twice.
Right.
It's not going to be Bill Stein. It's not going to be whoever it was last time. I don't know who it was. Some Green Party guy or something. So who's it going to be this time?
Well, apparently, I don't know if you heard it, Jesse Ventura apparently briefly flirted with running as a Green Party candidate, but I think he already is over it. Supposedly, he wrote a letter of interest to the Green Party saying he wanted to be the nominee, but I think it didn't work out, so he's not going to do it.
Okay.
That would have been amazing, by the way. Can you imagine that debate? he would destroy both of them, and he would finally be the guy to tell Trump to shut the fuck up.
Right.
Can you, like I said, I don't even care. Like, if we're gonna lose either way, which is how the progressives feel, like, wouldn't that, like, at least that's going down swinging, as far as I'm concerned. It's like, seriously.
They could get in the cage, and the old men could fight each other, Jesse and Donald.
Oh yeah, he's still got his guns, man. Like that, I wish, I really wish he would do it. Like, clearly, people say he's a crackpot, whatever. At least he's, like I said, at least he's got balls, man. That's all I have to say. And
I would love to see him in a debate, the national debate.
Right.
And he comes to the podium opposite Trump, and he comes packing pistols and a rifle. Okay, let's talk about it, Trump. What do you want to talk about, huh? And shake his weapons.
And he's like, and while you were in New York City banging a bunch of whores, I was in the Navy SEALs fighting for this country, you piece of crap. You know what I mean? Seriously. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep tweeting at him because I think what he said was he'd only do it through the Green Party because it's basically impossible to do it as an independent. The Green Party already has they have resources already. They're already a third party. They're already on the ballots in many states. And I just think that they couldn't make it work out because, he does fluctuate with his, political beliefs, but he's definitely more on the, I guess, obviously he's more on the progressive side now, and he wanted Bernie to win. But man, wouldn't that be an awesome debate? I can just see it. And it would be glorious. If anything else, that's all I would want from like I said, that would be, to me, that's our version of the Teddy Roosevelt going down swinging, at least. Because we're not even getting that. We're not, and that's what I said, the Bernie v. Trump was the final, I feel like that would have been the final choice of the American people. Okay, here's your wannabe fascist versus your self-avowed socialist, who's really more of a social democrat. So you got social democracy versus corporate fascism. What do you want? Make your choice. And we got robbed of that twice. And like I said, Biden can win because of this whole pandemic. Everything's so weird now. But, you're taking a big risk. If the Democratic Party just got behind Bernie, they could have won in a landslide.
Right.
But they'd rather keep their taxes low, their stocks high, and send their kids to private school and let the fascist bad man be president.
Right. And it's not just having their kids go to school, it's bribing their kids into school.
That's what I mean. They don't, again, and that's what I'm saying for the whole time. They really don't care. Remember, either way, the corporations still win and they still win. You know what I mean? It's it's basically professional wrestling at this point, which is why it's awesome if Jesse ran, because it'd be like the corporations own both parties, so the Democrats can pretend to care, or they can actually be in charge. If Trump wins, they just get to keep running on outrage and keep getting all the cushy jobs and all the fake bullshit. So, they win either way. So, they probably...
Oh, I just thought of something. If he does pick Tammy Duckworth...
Yeah.
Right? Then there would be a Duckworth-Pence debate, the vice presidential debate, where she would throw in cadet bone spurs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She
Right?
Like I said, at least she's got the balls, man. At least she's got something.
Yeah.
So
Cadet spurs.
that would be the only, I'm probably going to just vote Green Party because I usually vote third party anyways. So, whatever. That's, blame me if you want. I don't care. I was doing that before it was cool, as far as I'm concerned. So
I don't know. I'm going to look up and see who the communists are running.
oh god, don't say that.
Fuck it, why not?
uh,
Yeah, what did the Progressive Party do for you today, BJ?
what progressive party? There is no progressive party.
Yeah, exactly. There is none.
Well, that's what Bernie should have done after 2016 when he got scammed.
But he didn't.
Right.
So I'm gonna look it up, see who the commies are gonna run.
Ugh.
At least they don't bullshit around with what they believe in.
Well, you can give them like 1 of 5 votes, and then you'll be put on a list. But I guess you're an old man, so who cares?
That's right. I've earned the right to be investigated. Well, I'm not saying I'm going to, but I am going to look into it because the progressive story turned out to be all bullshit, false hopes.
Well, why not vote for the Green Party at least?
I don't know. What are they doing? What have they done for us?
Nothing.
Right.
But that's because they can't. The whole system's so that's what I've realized since I've been living in Taiwan.
I don't know. I haven't heard shit from them.
But that's the thing.
I hear more from Ralph Nader than I hear from the Green Party.
But that's the thing.
He's an old, smart man, and at least he keeps talking the talk. What is the Green Party doing? Nothing.
Well, that's because they're so blacked out from the media. You think the corporate media wants to even acknowledge? You think the corporate media wants to even acknowledge that they exist?
That's not the point.
What do you mean?
The point is that they have plenty of channels to get the word out, and I haven't heard read squat, or seen squat from them.
All right, so just go right in Ralph Nader's name then. If you don't want to vote for Howie Hawkins, who's probably going to be the Green Party nominee, then you might as well just write for Ralph Nader. Don't vote for communism.
Why not?
Well, I'm not communist.
Well, good for you.
Well, make sure. I mean, from what I remember looking back in the past when I was really into this stuff, it's funny you mentioned that because it's like there's so many other rando third parties that are basically pointless but still exist. Like, what's it like to live your life being a member of the Trotskyist Workers' Party that exists? You know what I'm saying? Like, how weird is your life to actually dedicate your life and your time to be in a completely worthless institution? Because there are a bunch. There are a handful of weird rando third parties. And since I got you here, let's look it up together, shall we?
Okay.
Let's figure this out because, like I said, there's a lot. I was doing some research. Did you know that both North Korea and China have official, fake other parties?
I did know about China.
Because it's to keep up the facade. Because in their facade, it's technically a democracy that just happens to always vote for the commies.
Right.
But the commies, China, mainland China, technically has a Taiwan Independence Party. But it's all just for show. It's all just a giant scam. Imagine what your life must be like to work for the official fake alternative party in China or North Korea for that matter. North Korea technically has elections?
Right.
And I remember I was reading about that a while back. So they have elections. They actually have booths. You can go in and it has his name and nobody else's name. You can write in somebody else's name, but they're 2 soldiers are always watching you. So it's not like, you know what I mean? You're not voting in secret.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So good luck with that one. All right. Here, Dad, let's find out how you, let's see if we can find how weird these third rando alternative parties are.
Look up the American Communist Party.
Well, hold on. I'm going to see what we got here. Because I think, like I said, I think there's several.
Maybe it doesn't exist anymore.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think there's like several similar named, like the Socialist Workers Party and the blah, 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 and the who and the what now. So, okay, here, let's take a look. This old website I used to spend hours on. Yeah, the Trotskyists. Trotsky. Does anyone even know who Trotsky is anymore? No. Okay.
No.
All right, here we go. So let me name you off some alternative parties. So of course we have the Green Party, the Constitution Party, it's another right-wing party, Libertarian, we know what they are about. Smaller parties, here we go. American Freedom Party, American Independent Party, that was the fucking George Wallace, who is still technically the biggest third party, like he actually won electoral votes.
Right.
That's how racist the South was/is. That they
until he got shot.
Right, until he got shot, and then he completely changed his whole worldview. All right. Okay, here. Let me read this to you, and you tell me what you think. So here we go. The Communist Party USA. Once the slavish propaganda tool and spy network for the Soviet Central Committee, it experienced a forced transformation in recent years. Highly classified Soviet Politburo records made public after the fall of Soviet communism in the 1990s revealed that the Communist Party of the Soviet Union illegally funded millions of dollars to the Communist Party USA to finance its activities from the 1920s to the 80s. The flow of Soviet dollars to the Communist Party USA came to an abrupt halt when the Soviet communists were ousted from power in 1991, causing a total overhaul of the Communist Party USA activities. Founded in 1924, Communist Party reached its peak vote total in 1932 with William Z. Foster, who got 100,000 votes, basically. So, here's the thing, the last national ticket was headed by Stalinist Gust Hall and 60s radical activist Angela Davis in 1984, and they got 36,000. So that's what I mean. That's the last time they've nominated someone, was in the 80s. So they might not even be anyone to vote for.
Right.
And then here's all these other weird alternate parties. There's the Freedom Socialist Party, was formed in 1966 by a splinter group of dissident feminist Trotskyists who broke away from the Socialist Workers' Party to create a party in the tradition of Marx, Engels, Lenin, and Trotsky. It's like, how weird, how fucked up is your life to be in that situation? You know what I'm saying?
I like that platform. When's the last time they ran somebody?
Hold on. Wait, hold on. Make sure I not get confused here. Right. The Freedom Socialist Party last fielded someone in 2012. So there. So are you actually communist? Because I'm not. I want to do what the Norwegians do.
Why isn't there a socialist party?
There is/was. So here. Let's keep going. There's the National Progressive Party, which is basically the same Vermont Progressive Party. Yeah. So there's the Party for Socialism and Liberation, is called a revolutionary Marxist party to be a vehicle for the multinational working class in the struggle for socialism. So they're basically more communists. Yeah. How about the Peace and Freedom Party? Founded in the 1960s as a left-wing party opposed to the Vietnam War, it reached its peak support in 1968 when it nominated Black Panther leader Eldridge Cleaver for president. Although a convicted felon, Cleaver captured nearly 37,000 votes. Ironically, Cleaver ultimately became a Reagan Republican in the early 80s. And later a crack cocaine addict in the late 80s, before emerging as an environmental activist in the late 1990s. What the fuck? How the hell do you go from a Black Panther to voting for Reagan?
Right.
Maybe the crack had something to do with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyways, famed baby Dr. Benjamin Spock, opponent of Vietnam, was the nominee in 1972. Since then, the small party has largely been dominated by battling factions of Marxist-Leninists, aligned with the Workers' World Party, which later split into the Militant Revolutionary Party of Socialism. Like, why? Why are these people doing this to themselves? This is insane.
Because they're feeling like I'm feeling.
Jesus.
The Democratic Party is bullshit. The Republican Party is bullshit. The Liberal Party is bullshit. The social Democratic Socialists are bullshit. They're all bullshit. So why not follow a principle
Well, here.
rather than a popularity?
Well, here's the thing. There's people don't get what I hate having these stupid arguments is that people think that just because something's named something that means that's what it is. Like people always say, "Oh yeah, the Nazis were the National Socialist Party. That means the Nazis were socialists." It's like, hey, okay. So North Korea's name is the DPRK, right? The Democratic People's Republic of Korea. So that means it's probably the most democratic country in the world, right? Wrong! Okay. So here's the thing. There's some more. I'm not going to bother reading the other parties because you don't care about the reform. These are all like lame-o conservative types. But, so here, there is a Social Democrats USA party, but it's basically useless. It has only fielded candidates for local office and has only been nominally active since the 1980s. So then, how do you think that makes me feel that that there's basically no party that actually represents my values? So let me read about this Social Democrats USA, even though it technically exists, but it's also basically useless. So the Social Democrats USA has only fielded candidates for local office and has been only nominally active since the 1980s. The Social Democrats USA is a small group of more ideologically centrist, staunchly anti-communist leftists who were more directly aligned with the Democratic Party in the 70s and the 80s than the more traditionally leftist Democratic Socialists of America. In fact, the views of the Social Democrats USA in 1972 caused the DSA to splinter away in ideological rift. The Social Democrats USA refused to support George McGovern for president that year because of his opposition to the Vietnam War. Versus the DCOs.
What?
Yeah.
They refused to support McGovern because of his anti-war stance?
I guess they were still like on the pro-war side somehow.
Oh, God.
So yeah, let me keep.
Right.
Wait. Let me keep reading. This is all interesting stuff. Like I said, just because it's called Social Democrats doesn't mean, a name is just a name, right? So,
Right.
and there was a split between because remember, there's also the Democratic Socialists of America, which a lot of the new progressives call themselves Social Democrats, even though a lot of them are actually Social Democrats. But whatever, that was Bernie's fault. We get to that later. Right, refused to support George McGovern for president that year because of his opposition to the Vietnam War versus the DCOC, which supported McGovern and immediately ended the war. Right, let's put up a progressive anti-war candidate to end the Vietnam War. Oh, sorry, wrong. We want asshole Nixon. Right, and then we made him resign from disgrace because he was a paranoid psycho, even though he's dead. he's liberal compared to the crap we have now. Do you realize that?
I know.
He made the EPA.
Right.
How fucked up is that? That's where we're at.
He opened the door to China.
Right. Only Nixon go to China. So here. So there was a split because these fake social democrats were for the war, I guess. Right. So more bullshit. So the Social Democrats USA disputes the claims of the DSA and the SPUSA to be the true heirs of the legacy of Eugene Debs and Norman Thomas, claiming that the successor, the Social Democrats, is the only successor to the party of Debs and Thomas. Whatever. So, however, by 2010, the SD eventually ceded all the rights to the name Socialist Party USA. And now, so the Socialist International stripped the Social Democrats of full member status in 2007, deeming to be a defunct organization. The remnant, which still functioned, was mere shell of it once. So there's a Social Democrats USA party, which is basically like fake. It doesn't even exist. Right. And it sounds like even when they were real, they were still shit. Okay. So here, then there's the actual Socialist Party USA. Socialist Party USA are true democratic socialists, advocating left-wing electoral change versus militant revolutionary change. Many members of the Socialist Party USA could easily be members of the left-wing faction of the Democratic Party. Unlike most of the other political parties on this page with socialist in their names, the Socialist Party has always been staunchly anti-communist. The original Socialist Party USA was founded by labor union leader and ex-Democratic elected official and pacifist Eugene Debs in 1900. The Socialist Party, remember, before the Cold War, there were actually lots of elected socialist people in the U.S.
Right.
Debs himself was the Socialist Party nominee for president 5 times between 1900 and 1920, and he received 900,000 votes, 6% in 1912. The Socialist.
So he was like the Ralph Nader of the time.
Yes. Right, and they threw him in jail for being against World War I. And he ran for president from jail.
Right.
So good for him.
All right, I like that.
Right?
So I want to become a member of the Socialist Party. How about that?
Okay. Well, let me keep reading here, because I think this is a different Socialist Party. Like I said, it gets complicated and stupid, right? Okay. Former minister and journalist Norman Thomas was the Socialist Party presidential nominee 6 times between 1928 and 1948. His best showing being 88,003 or 83,000, 2.2% in 1932. Socialist Party also elected congressmen, mayors, and other officials to the 20th century, largely during the 1910s to the 1950s. The party withered and splintered so much that by 1972 it barely existed. The Democratic Socialists of America and the Social Democrats, which we talked about, are splinter groups from the original Debs-Thomas Social Party entity. Activists from the old Socialist Party reconstituted the party in 1976 and began again to file Socialist Party USA national tickets for the first time in over 2 decades. So, it looks like there is an actual full-on socialist party.
All right, well, I'd rather vote for that than the Communist Party.
That's what I'm saying. Because I'm not, and even Eugene Debs wasn't a communist,
right?
Which is how they try, and that's kind of what I want to say right now, is that's always been the problem, dude. Dad, remember when they tried to smear Obama as a Marxist and a communist and a socialist?
Right.
Dude, he loved Wall Street's nuts so much. That's what I mean. Like, It doesn't matter. It's so stupid. They're gonna call you a communist anyways. but then you still try to suck them off, but they still hate you. So you might as well stand up for something. Because at this point, anything to the left of Trump is a communist to these people. Like,
You're right.
no, and they're seriously saying, like, the radical leftist Biden. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? He's basically he's basically Republican.
I'll bet you in closed meetings, closed lunches, they call Mitt Romney a communist.
Oh yeah, they all hate him now because he had the modicum of decency to vote against him for impeachment. He's probably, I bet you, if Biden wins, he's gonna give Romney a cabinet position or something. Like they're apparently saying Secretary of State or something like that. Because look, he's like the one decent Republican left.
Right. But the Republicans,
they'll hate him.
The Republicans are going to be calling him a communist behind closed doors.
That Mormon communist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, just in case it looks like you're really to vote for the Socialist Party, but because that's Debs, and remember nuance. He's specifically anti-communist, and he wanted to advocate socialist change through voting.
Right. So he was at the sunrise of the leftist labor movement, the Wobblies.
Right.
And that's the cause and the beliefs that I want. That's closest to what I believe in.
Okay. There's some weird other crazy socialist crap. Do you want me to tell you?
No. I want the historic and main Socialist Party.
Okay, because there's some weird stuff here. But yes.
Do they have a candidate?
Let's see if they even have anybody running this year. Let's find out. Believe it or not, there is a socialist. Oh, look here! Socialist Party USA, Beyond Bernie. An open letter to Bernie Sanders supporters. Let's take a look at this off their website.
Okay.
Yeah. And from April 12th, Beyond Bernie, an open letter to Sanders supporters. If we have learned one thing from Bernie Sanders' 2 presidential campaigns, it is that radical politics cannot be advanced from within the Democratic Party. Agreed, I agree with that. They're not willing to play fair or listen to progressive movement. This is not a criticism of the hard work done by countless volunteers on the Sanders campaign, but an indictment on a party that will do everything up to and including rigging its own presidential primaries to prevent meaningful change. Again, I agree. That's what happened. I don't care what you say. For many, Senator Sanders' loss in the presidential primary is still raw, and deciding your next political step may take time. For others, you may be ready now to continue advocating for radical solutions in the 2020 election. Wherever you find yourself at this moment, do not give in to the hopelessness and defeatism being sold by the Democratic Party in the form of their candidate Joe Biden. As was the case in 2016 with Hillary Clinton, radical alternatives do exist to the unpopular neoliberal being peddled under the guise of anyone but Trump and vote blue no matter who. The Democrats want to lay the blame for Donald Trump victory at your feet if you do not support a Democratic nominee by their section of the ruling class. Do not let them. Instead, turn yourself to the future. Now is the time to abandon the Democratic Party for good, not just for another 4 years. Some will attempt to corral you now into supporting Joe Biden, whereas others will wait to win you back with 2024 progressive candidate like Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. So long as these campaigns exist within the framework of the capitalist two-party system, progress will not be possible and your hard work will be in vain. Capitalist parties exist to advance the interests of the ruling classes. The working class must organize independently in order to advance its own interests. For our part, the Socialist Party has signed on to a dynamic presidential campaign by nominating longtime member and organizer Howie Hawkins of New York. Oh, so so it seems like the Socialist Party is just going to support the Green Party, basically.
Right.
Because I think he's going for the Green Party. So they're basically just getting. Remember, they do that in New York sometimes, where they have like the Working Families Party. Back is the same thing as the Democratic Party, but you're you're making a distinction in your vote by voting. So it sounds like it's the same thing as what the Socialist Party is doing.
And the like you were saying, it's all in the name. The useless validation by name. So the true Socialist Party knows now's not a good time to be running under that banner.
Right.
But, it's a lot more acceptable would be the Green Party. Yay, Green Party.
Right.
So I understand what they're doing.
So Howie Hawkins is a socialist who's calling himself a green because it doesn't sound as bad.
Right. Okay.
Right? That makes sense. Let me finish their statement here. For our part, the Socialist Party has signed into a dynamic presidential campaign by nominating longtime member and organizer Howie Hawkins of New York. Howie's campaign is one of left collaboration, which is why he is also seeking the nomination for the Green Party as well as support from across the left. We are proud to be involved in the unprecedented unity campaign and excited for what it can achieve for independent left politics in the United States. So, yeah. So,
how do you spell his last name?
Howie Hawkins, Hawkins. So, yeah, the Socialist Party is basically getting behind Howie Hawkins, and he's running for the Green Party as well. So,
right.
But I think that means you can vote for him as a socialist too, if you want.
Right. Right.
So, do that.
Let's go Howie.
I'd rather. Well, now you can look him up. See if anyone's going to talk about him.
Step up to the soapbox and let's start hearing some shit.
Right. Well, that's the thing, though. But could you imagine if, good for Howie, or whatever he's doing. But can you imagine if Jesse was the Green Party guy?
Right.
That would be amazing. I mean, they wouldn't let him into debates, and honestly, he'd probably just get shot. I'm not going to lie about that either. That's also what he's been saying too. That's why he doesn't want to bother, because he's like, they'll just take me out.
Yeah.
But so there's your story. Did this help you come to terms with what you're going to do?
Yes.
So here's the thing. Assuming they still have the presidential primary in New York, you should still vote for Bernie. And then immediately deregister your Democratic Party status.
Right. And register with the Socialist Party.
And then you'll definitely be on somebody's list. But who cares? You're an old man. You're not going to be blowing anything up. And again, specifically, does not advocate violent revolution, by the way. So you can tell that to the dumbblocks that you meet on a daily basis, even though they won't care.
I don't meet anybody.
You're trapped in your house.
All right.
Okay, well, I think we both learned something today on this.
Yeah.
And I guess, like I said, I've been voting third party before it was cool. I've been a registered independent my whole life so far. I'm going to keep it that way. Hopefully you actually get to vote by mail in New York.
You're following in your father's footsteps. I never voted Democrat, never.
Really?
For president. Really?
Huh. Well, they just have to stop sucking, but that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Right.
So
I like that open letter.
So now we can waste our time voting for green parties and socialists, and then you can post that on your Facebook and then get yelled at by your friends and family.
Right.
All right, then.
Right.
Well, at least we have some resolution here. Remember, resolution, not revolution, by the way. But you know what?
Okay.
We'll talk about, I've been saying online, Bastille Day 2020, so we'll save that for next time. What the future should be going forward after this. Thanks for listening to the Joy of Liberty podcast. Join us next time as we discuss the future of the progressive movement and American democracy in general. And because of that COVID-19, stay safe, take care of yourself, your friends, and your family. We'll make it through together and come out stronger on the other side.